Hi, and welcome back to the RightNOW Podcast. My name is Derek Distin, Vice President of Community here at Rightworks. And as we've talked about over the last several months, the accounting profession is an ancient profession. It is one of the oldest professions out there. It traces its roots back over 7,000 years. We've talked about ancient Mesopotamia, literally bean counters. We've talked about the evolution of the profession through the last 7 or 8 millennia. It is a constantly evolving profession. And we know that today, with the technological pace and the invention of AI and automation, things just continue to move faster. Rightworks is committed to standing alongside you and partnering with you through this transformation, but we can't do it alone. We have many great partners throughout the industry. Joining me today is Robbie Randall, National Sales Leader at Intuit. Robbie, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Derek.
So you heard me intro things there a little bit on how fast things are moving. I'm curious to know, from your perspective, at Intuit, what's the biggest change you've seen in the last 12 months?
I love this question. And, just to start out a little tongue in cheek, whenever you hear someone say AI, take a drink, right? I mean, that's the reality we live in, right? Like, go ahead and do your shot. Truthfully, the rapid infiltration of AI is happening now, beyond buzzwords like automation, into more practical areas like personal assistance, data analysis, gleaning actionable insights, deep learning, on and on and on. I would say that's part one. Kind of thinking through the question a little more, part two would be, with that is the shift of democratization of knowledge and expertise. I don't know that we've quite gotten our brains and our arms around what that really means yet, but I think those two pieces are happening and happening fast.
So you say democratization. I think perhaps the clearest example of the democratization of information is probably like Wikipedia, right? I remember 40 years ago, I don't remember 40 years ago. I remember 30 years ago.
I remember 40 years ago.
I'm right at the cusp, maybe. But 30 years ago, we had a college kid show up at our door, at our house, and he was selling Encyclopedia Britannica sets. Like, that's how these things used to exist. Nowadays, it's instantly available to anybody with an internet connection. That's the general knowledge type stuff. That's Wikipedia. Now, you can get in depth, right? There are articles on tax law. I'm sure there are people who are constantly updating those. But you're taking it a step farther, I think, in what you're referencing. You're talking about very niche, profession-specific knowledge and how that is rapidly developing into something that many people have access to. Am I correct in that?
That's exactly it. Highly specialized knowledge is available to anyone in an instant today.
And how do we see that playing out for the industry?
So I could think about a personal experience, or we can talk about a personal experience. I do own a side hustle, so to speak, a photography company. And I've noticed as I've moved into a new market, some of the stuff I used to do, some of the services I used to offer, family portraits mainly, isn't in such a demand where I live now. Most of the inquiries I get are for corporate headshots. Not an area that I had been in previously. I, of course, know how to take corporate headshots. Decided in a weekend that, you know what, I was going to dip my toe into this market. And within hours, I had good, better, best pricing developed. We had add-ons priced in such a way that they didn't cannibalize the good, better, best pricing. All new agreements and contracts written. That's legal, right? All of the marketing copy created. All of our pricing proposals and all of the documents and emails and things that we send, collateral, was all created. All mostly done within a few hours. I would say completely done and in market within the weekend. Again, we're talking contracts, right? Business contracts, whereas that process alone may have taken my small business anywhere from at best a few days to a few weeks to get that ironed out. So turning that back on its head for our industry and accountants, and when you think about the things that could be automated in bookkeeping, and where can I go to search to find out about my cash flow? How might I think about budgets for the next 6, 12, 14 months? Specialized knowledge. You had mentioned areas where tax law might come into play. I absolutely would agree that those are also areas up for consideration.
So from the perspective of Intuit, and I realize, large company, you're not going to speak entirely for everybody there, but from the perspective of Intuit, what are you most excited about with the advent of AI, with democratization? What can we expect to see and hear about in the coming months?
For us, we are marching into the mid-market very quickly with Intuit Enterprise Suite. You may have heard of IES. We're able to move and grow services, develop services very quickly now. We've always been known for that. I think that's something that if you look back at Intuit's history, all the way back to Scott Cook, sitting at that kitchen table with his wife, being agile, moving quickly at scale is something that we've always done well. I would say it's happening at a breakneck speed with IES, Intuit Enterprise Suite. The other piece of that would be agentic experiences or agentic services. That's something you may be hearing more and more about over the coming months, certainly over the coming year. The rapid development and deployment of agentic services, I think, is the other piece we can get really excited about.
Yeah, you mentioned that word. I was going to bring it up, agentic, because that's kind of the next thing in AI that accountants can begin to think about and hear about, right? There was the generative AI, the chat GPT type stuff. Now it's the agentic. Quick primer, describe agentic AI for me.
So if you think about agentic services, it's a new paradigm. More or less, you can assign an agent or a bot on a project or a task, and with very little to no supervision, it will complete that task without oversight, supervision, without the need to continuously check up on it. In other words, agentic services act and think like humans.
It's an agent. It's someone doing something, only it's not a someone, it's something.
Exactly right. And when we think about the hiring difficulties that CPAs and firms have voiced over the last decade, the increase in capacity pressure, all the things that we think about with workforce, these new agentic services are coming in to relieve some of that. It also speaks to the need for the workforce of the future, right? We need employees now who know how to develop and deploy, or at least oversee those services and bots at scale. So it's a different pool of talent than we may have looked at in the past, say coming from an accounting degree.
It's you're speaking right into a topic that I love, and that's the idea of lifelong learning and continuous education. Getting ready to give a presentation here in a couple weeks, and there's two numbers that I always quote for everybody. 85 million jobs are expected to be lost to AI and automation by 2030. However, up to 97 million jobs will be created in service of AI and agentic services and automation, et cetera, either on the tech side of things or jobs that you and I may not even think about at this moment in those accounting firms. Somebody's going to need to do something that's brand new.
That's exactly it. We think about the folks who are exiting, baby boomers who are exiting our industry en masse. I haven't seen the data where they lay that curve over the things that you're speaking to. I imagine it's net. You're speaking my language as well. I don't know that in our industry specifically that we'll see the sharp decline in employee headcount due to lack of availability. I think for us, it'll just be net to where new roles are coming into the market, new potential is coming into the market at that same time that baby boomers are exiting the market. So yeah, it's a very exciting time.
Yeah, I think accountants are learning to evolutionize their offerings or services. We talk about CAS, client accounting and advisory services. That's in the last 10 to 15 years, really a new service and offering that many firms are stepping into. And you're exactly right. If there's a loss of jobs to AI and automation, there's an opportunity because that person may upskill or reskill themselves to be able to provide advisory services instead of data entry necessarily.
Absolutely. We look for it on our team as well. How can we retool is really the conversations we're having internally. Where do we need to lean into to learn more to help skill up? And I think that's the exciting piece about this is we've got folks in industry who want to learn, who are excited about the technology, who are leaning into these things already. I would say just empower them, pour gas on that fire, and let's see where we're at in the next 5 to 10 years.
Putting you on the spot here. Where does Robbie feel he most needs to retool in the next 5 to 10 years?
That's so great. I'm still working on communication. So I think if we go back to just the basics, communication for me is always the thing, right? How can I be more concise? How can I be more thoughtful? How can I tailor messages to the individual or to the broader audience? For me, I'm still working on basics like that in my own life. Certainly getting a lot of education in AI, certainly getting a lot of education in these agentic services that we're speaking to. But for me, it's always trying to get back to the basics. How do I be a better human and a better communicator?
2 great, fabulous goals to always have in mind. For this presentation that I've got to give, it's a 50-minute presentation, and I am, for anybody who's listened to the podcast knows, I can be long-winded. I used one of the online services, ChatGPT-like generative AIs, to help me sort of begin to parse out how I wanted the structure of this to go. I then worked on my presentation, put everything into a slide deck with all my notes. And then I had this brilliant idea. I said, hey, how long do you think this presentation is going to run? It did its thing. It ran through it, and it comes back and says, if you speak at a normal pace of whatever it was, blah, blah, blah words per minute, and pause for audience interaction, this should take you 47 minutes. Floored.
How about that?
I didn't even need to practice it to know that thing. I just fed that into AI.
That was pretty great.
Yeah. Okay, specific to RightNOW, our conference coming up here in a couple of weeks in Nashville. What are you most excited to talk to practitioners and attendees about? What is got you really excited from the Intuit perspective?
When we touched on this a little earlier, what is happening in our technology for scaling business has me incredibly excited. Never before have we been able to help small businesses thrive in this way before through scale. So what I mean by that is, you think about QuickBooks, where it got its start, mom and pop, small business, GL, and then very rapidly, with former CEOs, we started moving into the cloud, expanding into being the solution for your back office. And now taking that and marching that up through scaling businesses into mid-market, which have their own set of unique needs, their own, the things that they look for in software is a little different from what, typical small business owners look for, a little more personalized, things that they need to tease out of the data is a little different. We're able to do that now and growing that set of solutions for that market. Super exciting.
Define for me what you consider mid-market.
For sure. So we've kind of put some loose bounds on that. So we're looking at anything over $2 to $3 million in revenue. I'd say is a good starting place for us. And then when you're thinking about workforce, anywhere north of say 10 employees.
So if I'm a principal, if I'm a partner, if I'm a sole owner of a firm, and I'm just starting to approach that, I've got 6, 7 employees, maybe 1.5, 2 million-ish coming in. What am I looking at? What can I be most excited about IES, the enterprise services?
Scale. So it's going to continue to work with you as you grow your business. I think that scale aspect is likely most exciting. It's a single point solution as you continue to grow. So you're not having to consider implementation costs, training costs, migration costs. A lot of times with more advanced ERP systems, you're looking at building out custom apps for integration. Continued maintenance has costs associated with that. This is in the QuickBooks Online platform that you're used to. It's very familiar, yet it has this library of capabilities that it just unlocks so much more as you continue to grow and expand.
What KPIs should I be looking at once I've made this adoption to verify that I'm on the right path to continue scaling and growing my business?
I love that. So I like you, I did a little public speaking. I had a presentation a couple years ago on metrics that matter. I was speaking to small and mid-market businesses, and I want to share this again. I think it's worthwhile to always take a step back and say, hey, get grounded on your mission. Always first and foremost, get grounded on your mission. And then with that, KPIs, right? It's us. We love them. How are you measuring your mission? So I always think about Bombas, the sock company. Are you familiar with Bombas?
Oh yeah, love the story.
So like their KPI, what is their mission, right? For every sock they sell, they give one away to homeless or someone in need. Think about how clean that KPI is. It's elegant, it's beautiful, right? So it's to reestablish your mission, tie KPIs to your mission first and foremost. Number 2, I always think about internal return on investment. I'm in technology. What do these changes mean inside your business for the value of your business? So always continue to focus on how these investments affect time or resources or other technologies. Measure it. It's important.
I love the idea of making sure that you're grounded on your mission, right? Too many times we can allow ancillary, I'm going to use that term, ancillary KPIs to help us define success. But often those can be maybe not counter to, but off your North Star.
Right on.
Yeah. Love that.
Can I use the R word?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think but one of the things that we see, if you look at traditional firms, they still have their arms around realization. Not a bad thing. What we're finding is, and when I say this, I think folks think that I internalize it as an Intuit thing, but it's not an Intuit thing. More and more accounting firms are looking more and more like Intuit in the things that they measure, titles, how they think about staffing. And I don't think it's because of Intuit. I think it's because more and more accounting firms are looking to measure more like the businesses they serve. I think it has less to do with Intuit. I think it's more about them mirroring the things that are important to the businesses they serve. And that is trickling into their KPIs and starting to disrupt conversations like realization. I could be going out on a limb, but
I don't think you're too far out on a limb. I think it's when you see something that makes sense, it gets adopted. And generally, it's those small, mid-sized businesses that will adopt things faster. And we're talking about how you're viewing your own business differently. So if Intuit is doing this, that just means that you guys are either helping lead or have found that it matters to be doing things the right way. And I think you're exactly right, because I've seen the same thing in many firms that I talk to. It's less and less about that historical realization, and it's more and more about, to borrow a Simon Sinek term, the why. Why am I doing this? Crystal ball. Where do you see the industry, this profession, heading in the next 24 months?
Right on. So my gut tells me, and it's hard to say because I feel it. My gut tells me we're going to move faster. And when I say we, I mean we as a society, the collective we're going to continue to move faster and faster. And I just personally feel like we're moving fast now. It feels very fast. So to think that that's going to continue to accelerate is, I'm still working through that personally. That's my gut. My gut is telling me that all of these things are going to continue to be amplified and accelerate. So with that, I would just urge everyone, you mentioned this earlier, and I love that you said it. Education is paramount, and it's not just the once a year CPE, right? It's a spirit of education. It's a mode of education. It's continuous. What is happening in our firms and our businesses where education is rewarded, right? And it's something that happens minute by minute, day by day, and not so much of an event. I think that's going to be critical to be able to keep up with the pace.
I think you used another word there, critical. I think critical thinking is the most important thing that we can train ourselves and continuously work on for ourselves.
Right on. Discernment. I love it.
Yep. You said it feels like we're moving fast. I'm reminded of that Sam Altman quote from sometime in the last couple of years where he said, the AI that you're using today, and it doesn't matter what day you listen to this quote, the AI that you're using today is the dumbest AI that you will ever use in the future.
And that's, it hurts the brain a bit, but that's exactly it, right? Like, even thinking through what that means in the future it's quite something.
So specific to right now, coming up here in a few weeks, you ever been to Nashville before?
I almost said a cuss word. Heck yeah. Absolutely. I'm from North Georgia. My family has absolutely taken some vacations in Nashville, taken some trips up there.
So if I have never been to Nashville before, what can I expect? Or do you have any quick stories or tips that I would want to hear?
For sure. I would say number one, bring an empty stomach. So my family and I, we're not drinkers. We do eat. So bring an empty stomach. You're going to want to eat a lot. Or if you do partake, bring an empty stomach, or maybe put something on your stomach because it's one of those towns too. Other than that, there's a hiking. It's not a trail, but there's these stairs that just go on forever. I wish I knew the name of it. I will Google it, message me. There's wonderful hiking in the area, so you can work off that food. But I would say come hungry and be ready to be outside.
Okay. So if somebody shows up and they catch you at the booth and they've already filled their stomachs with good quality food and they say to you, Robbie, what was the name of those stairs? You need to have that answer for them by the time we get to the booth.
I'll have it. I certainly will. I always forget it. They just go on and on, but it's such a wonderful walk. You get to the top, you feel like Rocky, you look out over the town. It's really nice.
That's awesome. Okay, so the second question, as someone is standing there asking you for the name of those stairs, is swag. What is Intuit going to be bringing that somebody can get excited about? Do you know?
I wrote this down. My marketing team would hurt me if I left this piece out. There's Bluetooth trackers. I think that might be for luggage. I need to do a little more investigation. There is charging batteries available with sleeves. Also Intuit branded. Stainless steel bottles, Intuit branded. And a chai charge stack with a sleeve. I'm still learning what that is, but it sounds very exciting.
Sounds exciting. I'm going to put in a request. make sure you bring a pair of Intuit branded socks, because this is what I collect at all of the conferences that I go to every year. I
Do my
always swing by.
best. I'll do my best. I don't know. I have a pair. I don't think you want those, but
No.
yeah, I'll do my best.
Preferably unworn. Thank you. And last couple of questions for you. Now we're going to get into a little bit of a get to know Robbie personal sense here. I like to ask people these two questions. I want you to imagine that you and I have a time machine real quick, and it's got a limited battery life. It probably needs one of those chargers, those battery chargers. But we're going to step into it, and we're going to go back in time 10 years. Now, I want you to forget science fiction, science fact, all these paradoxes, et cetera, et cetera. Just go with me on this question. The door opens up. You're face to face with yourself 10 years ago. Now you've got 60 seconds to give yourself one piece of advice. What advice would you give a younger you 10 years ago?
Okay, so assuming from what you said, I could hug myself.
Sure.
I'll give myself a hug first. There's a quote that I came across recently that I absolutely adore, and I'm thinking about it a lot. It says something like, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
I am writing that down because that is great. Stay grounded.
Right on.
All right, we step back in the time machine, and it takes us from that point 20 years into the future, which is for you and I now 10 years into the future. Same thing, that door is going to open up. You're going to face with yourself 10 years older now. What one piece of advice or what one question are you going to ask of yourself 10 years from now?
Yeah, with the introspective route, I think the lottery ticket answer is always a great one. I'm thinking a little more introspective on this one. And for me, I think I would want to know what I should have cut out. I tend to say yes to everything, especially if it's relationships and experiences. I only meet friends. I've got to learn the hard way. And if you ask me to go on an adventure, it will be yes every time. But with that, it's not always great. So I would want to know, like, kind of looking back, what maybe should I have cut out? I think that would be very helpful.
Would you actually listen to yourself, or do you think 10 years older would say, like, cut this out? Or do you think you'd be like, hey man, all these experiences led me to where I am today?
It's hard, right?
Yeah.
It's so hard. I don't know. I maybe start with a hug again and then see.
Let's make a pact that I am not going to ask you to go on any random adventures when we're in Nashville. And I'm going to ask you not to ask me to go on any random adventures, because I'm the same way. I would say yes to it. Let's make sure we stay focused and in the same location, at least while we're there.
Derek, sounds like we're going on adventures.
Oh man, there it is. There it is. All right. Well, Robbie, I appreciate your time today. And to you, listener, thank you so much for tuning in today. Keep practicing, keep evolving, keep upskilling, keep scaling, keep teasing the data. Most importantly, keep chopping wood, keep carrying water. That ancient Chinese proverb says the best time to have planted a tree was 20 years ago. The second is right now. So again, best time to have made an investment or a change was a long time ago. Second best time to do it is just get started right now. Join us in Nashville, May 17th through the 19th for RightNOW 2025. Robbie, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate your time, and thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.